Abby, very good to see you. I'm starting with a question that everybody has. What is a good monthly retirement income? And before we get into it, I want to share some data with you. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual expenses for people 65 plus in 2021 was $52,000. That comes out to about $4,000 a month. But of course, no two people are alike. So figuring out what you will need in retirement is very much going to depend on your unique goals and lifestyle. But we do have some prompts to help you get to that number. First, picture your ideal retirement and be as specific as possible.
That's right. And this can kind of go one of two ways. It can be either a massive chore or it can be really fun.
Yeah.
And so I try and help, individuals or couples that I work with. Let's sit down and really think through the first couple years of your retirement, kind of play that out in your head. You're not having to set the alarm clock. You are able to literally do whatever you want to with your time. Every day is now Saturday or Sunday. What do you want to fill your time with those first couple of weeks or those first couple of years? And oftentimes what I see is kind of like what I like to call the retirement tour. So especially in that first year, a lot of my clients will do almost like a road trip around the United States and also internationally, but visiting friends that they didn't have time to go and see, visiting their grandkids more, their kids more. Those first several years, especially in retirement, can be really active and just really amazing. A lot of bucket list items can happen in those years. And then we go from there. What do you want to stay where you're living now? Do you want to move to, a lake house that you have, a mountain house? Do you want to move to the beach? Do you want to travel like you're traveling now? Or do you want to travel even more than you're traveling now? So just kind of I think everybody has an ideal retirement in their head, but a lot of times it's not written out. It's not necessarily talked about or planned out. And so that's what we do in our meetings together, is figure out what do you want to do? Do you just want to maintain your lifestyle, or maybe are you going to spend a little bit more because every day's Saturday? I've heard people say that.
Mhm.
So that's really the goal here, is to figure out, what do you want the rest of your life to look like?
Right. And so part of that is tracking your expenses now and then putting together a spending plan.
Yes. So what I like to liken this to is retirement these days. It used to be pretty similar to when we were still working. I mean, you would retire, you'd collect a pension, Social Security, and whatever you had in investments and savings was kind of just icing on the cake. But now it is, as we always talk about, it's the risk and the planning has really been transferred onto us as individuals. And so when you retire, it's almost like starting a little business. You have to figure out how you're going to pay yourself. You have to figure out how much you want to pay yourself. You have to figure out your health care. You have to figure out taxes. And so it is kind of like a mini business. And part of running a good business is knowing how much your budget is. So, and the best way to do that is to figure out how much you're spending right now. A lot of times people, and this is a fatal flaw in a lot of retirement plans that I've seen over the years, is they underestimate their expenses. They think they're going to be spending a lot less than they're spending right now, when in fact, I've had people come to me and say, I'm actually spending a little bit more than I was when I was still working.
Mhm.
Again, because every day is Saturday, I have so much time on my hands. I don't want to just sit at home and watch TV. They're out and about and doing things and traveling. But a good place to start is figuring out how much you're spending right now, and then going back to, what do you want that retirement to look like? And then together we can figure out kind of what is that good monthly number to shoot at. It's also very important to know, for your financial advisor, what are your fixed expenses and what are your discretionary expenses.
Right.
Those segmented out can be very, very helpful to see kind of how much wiggle room we have there. In my area, so in Georgia, in Swanee, Georgia in particular, we work with people all over the country. But the number that I see a lot is that $10,000 a month, especially with inflation as it is now. But that seems to be a comfortable number that I see fairly often for people. But again, I mean, it's all over the board. Some people are very comfortable on that average, which is about $4,000 a month. Some people need, $15,000 a month. Some people need even more than that.
Yeah.
It's very broad.
Right.
So it just depends, and it's
Right.
important to figure out your number.
Right. And next, you do need to consider for common risk factors, like you said, even if it is $10,000 a month, that might be what it is on week one of retirement, but not not year 52, right?
Right. So this is what we do with our income plans. We do what's called a stress test. So we look at it. Okay, best case scenario, you'll need $10,000 a month for the rest of your life, and that's pretty a straight line. That's something that you can kind of count on. But what happens if inflation is 1% higher than it has been, or even 2% higher than it has been? How much would you need in addition to that 10,000? You're going to need more every year anyways. But if inflation is higher than usual, you'll need even more than that. A lot of times we also want to look at what happens if Social Security is cut by 15 to 20%. Where's the additional income going to come from? Another risk is obviously health. So as we get older, those healthcare expenses can really go up. So making sure you have the appropriate healthcare plan, appropriate long-term care protection plan in place, and also factor in those expenses. A lot of times people really underestimate how much they're going to spend on their health and health insurance in retirement too.
Right.
And then of course there's the market. So if you're pulling income from your portfolio and it's in all equities, that if it tanks one year, you might have to really, really cut back. So what's the risk in your portfolio? How much of your income is being met by guaranteed sources? So what's your income stability ratio? Those are really the big ones that we want to look at, with number one being survivorship income. So what will happen to your income if one of the spouses passes away? Oftentimes it's cut by anywhere from 20 to 50%, which is a massive pay cut. And we really want to have a plan before that happens, so that both people in the couple can have peace of mind knowing that they're going to be okay, no matter what happens.
Right. Right. And then you also suggest, of course, building a robust nest egg. But more than that, you say that it should be a tax diversified nest egg. Why is that?
So what we want to do is have a good mix of the three buckets. So the tax-free bucket, taxable, and tax deferred. A lot of times what we see, if people aren't working with a financial advisor in their accumulation phase, is that 90% or maybe even more of their net worth or their investments are tax deferred, which means there's this tax bill that's growing and growing and growing in those accounts. And it reduces the worth of those investments, because you don't have $1 million, you have a portion of it, and the government has a portion of it. But with taxes, we have no idea how much their portion is. They can change it at any point in time by raising or lowering taxes. So if we have at least it doesn't necessarily have to be equal, but if we have at least some kind of diversification in your wealth with those three buckets, we can figure out what the best plan is, where the income should come from, depending on the tax situation. So you have more options. So it's diversification, just like with investments, but also with your tax buckets. You want to give yourself as many options as you can in the future, and make sure that you can handle whatever the tax situation is in the future, because we just don't know.
Right. And then last, determine if you want to leave anything behind, and working with a financial advisor can help you with legacy planning.
Yeah, so if you have a goal in mind, if you have a specific dollar amount or a specific portion of your your life savings that you want to leave to a charity or to your kids or your nieces or whoever, then that money can actually be invested maybe a little bit differently than money that is used for either yourself down the road or definitely for income. So there can be different investment strategies for your different goals, so that every dollar that you have is doing a job for you. It's playing a specific role, and it's invested specifically how it needs to be for those roles. You might be able to take a little bit more risk with those dollars that you want to grow for the future, because the time frame is so much longer for the inheritance. Or maybe you want to keep it really safe. You want it to grow just to keep up with inflation, but you don't want to take any risk. You want to make sure that that's there for your kids or your grandkids. And so that's where the conversations can really be helpful in identifying those goals, and making sure the investment plan is solid and the income plan is solid, and that they fit together properly.
Mm-hmm. So much to consider, Abby. You can see why there really is no good cookie cutter answer to this question, but I hope that we've been able to help clarify some information for people. But if somebody does want to come to their own unique number with you, what's the best way to reach you?
You can always give us a call at 678-442-0255. You can also visit our website, theretirementfamily.com. You can send us a message, let us know what's on your mind, what you would like to talk to one of our fiduciary advisors about. We'll reach out to you and set up a 15-minute introductory call and see how we can help.
Great. Abby, thank you.
Thanks, Erin.